So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I again welcome you in the third live session of this week. In today's session, we'll start the first topic of our syllabus, the tentative syllabus which I have received from the university. So the topic name is Introduction to the Communication Theory. So basically, as a part of this session, we are going to discuss the two topics: the basics of data communication and the topologies, the network topologies. So this is basically the topics of the first unit with reference to the syllabus. So I will share this presentation later after the end of this presentation. So the reference material will be from the textbook 2, which is Andrew Tenenbaum, and the reference book 2, that is Behrouz Forozan. So you will find the syllabus of this first unit from these two books. One is textbook and other is the reference book. Okay, so this is the reference book of Behrouz Forozan, 5th edition. You can refer 4th edition as well. And this is Computer Network by the Andrew S. Tenenbaum. So you will find the syllabus of the first unit in these two books. So let us start with the first topic, that is basics of data communication. So when we communicate, we are sharing some information. So this sharing can be local or it may be remote. Between individual, the local communication it usually occurs face to face, while the remote communication it takes place over the distance. Now in data communication, what communication stands for? The term telecommunication, which includes the telephony, telegraph or television, which means the communication over the distance. Whereas in data communication, the word data, it refers to the information which is presented in whatever form. And this information, it should be agreed upon by the parties who are actually creating and using this data. So data communication, basically they are the exchange of data between the two devices via some form of transmission medium. So this transmission medium, it may be a wired medium or it may be wireless medium. So for data communication to occur, the communicating device, they must be part of communication system, which is made up of some combination of hardware and the software. So hardware, what do I mean by hardware? Hardware means there may be some routers, switches, hubs, and so on. And software is nothing but the protocols that we design so that the communication should take place in some agreed upon way. So the effectiveness of this data communication system, which is depends on the four fundamental characteristics. So what are these four fundamental characteristics? So let me take a pen so that I can share these four fundamental characteristics of the data communication. So the first characteristic of a data communication is delivery. The second characteristic of the data communication is the timeliness. the third characteristic is the accuracy. The accuracy of the message, or you can say that the authenticity of the message. And the fourth characteristic is the jitter control. Okay, so these are the four characteristics of a data communication. We'll see all of them one by one. So talking about the first characteristics, that is delivery. So the system must deliver the data to correct destination, and the data must be received by the intended device or the user. So that is what the meaning of delivery. Accuracy, or the second characteristic, is the timeliness. So the system must deliver the data in timely manner. So we can say that the data is delivered late, they are useless. So now in this case of video and audio data transmission, the timely delivery, what it means? So it means that delivering the data as they are produced. So we send the data, we transmit the data in the same order that they are produced, and without having any delay. So this kind of delivery, they are called as the real-time transmission or real-time streaming of videos. Then the third characteristics is the accuracy. So it ensures that the system must deliver the data accurately. So the data that have been altered in transmission and left uncorrected are unusable. So it ensures that the data which is sent from one machine to another machine will be transmitted in a secure way. Okay, so if I am sender and you are receiver, if I send the data as some number 1, 2, 3, then you should receive the data as 1, 2, 3. So if during the transmission, if some hacker or some intruder, if they have altered the data, then that data is not useful. And you just imagine the case when we are transmitting some sensitive information, like you are transmitting your account number, password, IFSC code, and so on, right? And the amount which is to be transferred, right? So in that case, if the data get breached, then that data is of no use. Then the last characteristics of a data communication system is the jitter. So jitter, what it means? So jitter, it refers to the variation in the packet arrival time. So if there is uneven delay in the delivery of the audio or video packet, then the essence of that live streaming of audio and video will get lost. For example, let us assume that the video packets that I have sent to you, I'm sending you at every 3 milliseconds. Now, if some of the packet that arrives with the 3 milliseconds delay, and majority of the packets, they are arriving with the 5 milliseconds delay or more than 5 milliseconds delay, then ultimately what is happening at your end, you are getting the uneven quality in the video. So the quality of video will get distorted. Well, then let us go to the next slide. So as a part of this first topic, that is basics of data communication, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss the basic components of data communication, how the data is represented, and how the data is flow through the transmission medium, right? So let us go to the next slide. So there are 5 components of data communication. Okay, so doesn't matter whether what type of network you are using or what type of network topology you are using, but there should be at least this 5 component exist during the communication. So the first component, the first communication component is the message. So what is message? So message is basically, it is the information which is to be communicated. And there are some popular forms of information which includes the text, number, it may be picture, it may be video, or it may be audio. Okay. Then the second component of the communication is the sender. Okay. So sender is basically a machine who sends the data, okay, to the other end, or this other end is called as a receiver. Okay, so sender, it may be a computer, it may be a workstation, it may be a mobile phone. Okay, so it is the entity who actually transmits the data over the link or over the transmission medium. So this is our second component. We have seen the first component. This is our second component. Then the third component is the receiver. So receiver is the the device which actually receives the data or the information from the sender. And again, the receiver, it may be a workstation, it may be a computer, or it may be a mobile phone which actually receives the information. Okay, so I hope these three components are clear. Then the fourth and the important component in this data communication, or in this communication theory, is the medium, that is the transmission medium. So what is transmission medium? So transmission medium is the physical path by which the message travels from sender to receiver. Now, some of the example of transmission medium, it includes the twisted pair wire cable, then coaxial cable, it may be fiber optical cable, or in case of wireless transmission medium, the media will be radio waves. Then we come to the last component of the communication, that is the protocol, and we know that what is the protocol. In the last few lectures, I have used this terminology, that is the term, that is the protocol. So what is protocol? A protocol is a set of rules that governs the data communication. It represents an agreement between the communicating device. Now imagine that without protocol, can we connect the two devices? Yes, the answer is yes. We can connect without protocol, we can connect the two devices, but the communication may not happen between those two devices unless and until we design some protocol. That protocol says the rule of communication. Okay, now imagine that, or for example, if a person from China has called you, okay, you may not understood the language that person is speaking, right? So what is this? You have established a communication, telecommunication. Okay, the person has called you, the connection is established, but you are not able to communicate with each other. Why? Because the protocol of communication is not designed. The person who is talking from the other end, his language is not known to you. Okay, so that is the reason. Even if we, without protocol, we can establish a connection between two devices, but without protocol, those two devices, they cannot communicate with each other. Okay, so that's all from the communication components. Now let's go to the data representation. So data representation, I have already mentioned what are the different forms of data. Okay, data means what? Data is nothing but information. So what are the different forms of information? So information, it may be text, it may be number, it may be image or picture, it may be audio information, or it may be video information. So your data, the data that you are going to transmit over the transmission medium, it may take a different forms. Okay, so data is represented with this different forms. It may be text, it may be number, image, audio, and video. Okay, so let us discuss these different forms of data. So in data communication, the text is represented as the bit pattern. Okay, so there are different sets of bit patterns that have been designed to represent the text symbol, and each of these bit pattern, they are called as code. Whereas the process of representing the symbols using these bit patterns is called as coding. And remember, in computer science, there are two types of coding used. Okay, one is Unicode and other is the ASCII code. So ASCII, it stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Unicode is basically, it uses its size is 32-bit long. Okay, and Unicode is specifically used to represent the symbol or the character which is used in any language across the globe. Okay, remember, so Unicode is widely used coding method to represent the symbol or character. Then comes the number. So number are all the numbers cannot be represented using the ASCII code. So ASCII coding technique is not used to represent the numbers. That is very clear. Then comes the third one. The third type of data form is the image. So images are also represented by the bit patterns. In its simplest form, an image is always composed of matrix of pixels, whereas each pixel represents a small dot. And the size of this pixel, it depends on the resolution. For example, let's say that an image can be divided into 1,000 pixels or 10,000 pixels. Now, if the image is represented with the 10,000 pixel, then it would have a better representation. That is the better resolution. But because the resolution of the image is better or best, the memory required to store such image would also be increased. Then the fourth form of data representation is the audio data. So audio, we know that it refers to the recordings or the broadcasting of sound or music. Similarly, the video data, it refers to the recording or the broadcasting of picture or movie. So video can either be produced as a continuous entity, or it can be the combination of images, or you can say that it can be a combination of frames, image frames, what we can say. Well, that's a part of data representation. So let's move to the next part, that is data flow. So communication between two devices, it can be simplex, it can be half duplex, or it can be full duplex, which is shown in this figure. Now in simplex mode, the communication is unidirectional. You can see here, the communication is unidirectional. As you can interpret it as a one-way street, so only one of the two devices on a link can transmit and the other can only receive. So here in this case, this device is allowed to transmit the data, whereas this other end device is allowed to receive the data. So in any case, this device, this monitor is not allowed to send the data back to the mainframe. So you can say that the output devices such as your monitor and the other display devices, they are using this simplex form of transmission, where the processor or your computer is sending the data to the monitor to display on it. Okay, but in any case, the monitor is not allowed to send or retransmit the data back to the mainframe. So that is a simplex form of communication, and it's unidirectional. So at any time, only one device is allowed to transmit and other device only receives the data. Then the second form of communication is a half duplex mode. So in half duplex mode, each station can both transmit and receive, but not at the same time. So when one device is sending, the other can only receive, and vice versa. So the half duplex mode is like a one-lane road with the traffic allowed in both the direction. But how? When cars are traveling in one direction, then the vehicles on the other end should have to wait. So in a half duplex transmission, the entire capacity of channel is taken over by whichever of the two devices is transmitting at the time. So for example, on this channel, if this station is transmitting, then this station will get the full bandwidth to transmit the data, whereas this station has to wait to transmit the data back to this station, and this station is allowed to receive the data during this transmission. Okay, so this is what a half duplex mode. Once the data transmission of this station or this node finishes, then this station is allowed to transmit the data to this station. Okay, so the sender can transmit or receives the data, but not at the same time. At any given point of time, the sender or receiver, they can either transmit or receive. So that is the half duplex mode. Okay, so the half duplex mode is used in case where there is no need for communication in both the direction at the same time. Okay, for example, like walkie-talkies or the radios. So radio is the best example. So there is only one way of communication happening. Then the third type of data flow is the full duplex mode. So in full duplex mode, both the stations can transmit and receive the data simultaneously. So the full duplex mode is like a two-way street with the traffic flowing in both the direction at the same time. So in full duplex mode, the signal going in one direction shares the capacity of other link. Okay, for example, this means that if there are two links, if the links are if there are two dedicated links for transmission and receiving, then in that case, this station has the liberty or luxury to utilize the other communication link. Okay, for example, I'll just let me take a pen so that I can explain you. For example, if this is the communication line, if we are using for full duplex mode, if we are using the two dedicated lines, okay, so one dedicated line is used to transmit the data and other communication line, so this is second communication line, which is used to receive the data at the same time, right? So in that case, if this second line, if this second communication link, if it is idle or if the data transmission is not take place, then in that case, this station A can utilize this second link for sharing the bandwidth. So it uses the bandwidth of this first link as well as the bandwidth of this second link. And same is the case for this station B as well. Okay, so either the link must contain, the sharing can occur in two ways, specifically in full duplex mode. So we are assuming here that the link must contain two physical separate transmission paths, one for sending and other for receiving. Okay, or the capacity of the channel is divided between the signal traveling in both the direction. Now, one common example of full duplex communication is the telephone network. When the two people are communicating by telephone line, both can talk and listen at the same time. So the full duplex mode is used when the communication in both the direction is required all the time. And the capacity of the channel, however, must be divided between the two directions. So that's all from the data flow point. I hope there is no problem. Let me go back. If you have any questions so far, please type in the chat box. Is there any question? So we have seen what is data communication, what is telecommunication, what is data, what are the different forms of data, we have seen the components of data, then we have seen how the data is represented in the different forms, and finally how the data is flow through the transmission medium. What are the different forms the data flow through the transmission medium? May it be wired media or wireless media. Okay, so the data transmission takes three different forms. It may be simplex mode, it may be half duplex mode, or full duplex mode. Whereas the different forms of data are the text, number, image, audio, and video. Okay, so I hope there are no problems. So let's go to the next point, that is network. Okay, so a network is what? A network is always a set of devices which are often referred as the nodes, or they are also called as the stations, which are connected by some communication links. A node can be a computer, it can be a printer, or any other device which is capable of sending or receiving the data generated by the other nodes on the network. So as a part of this topic, we are going to discuss what is the different network performance criteria, what are the types of network connections, what are the network topologies, and the types of network. So let me go fast. So what are the different network criteria? So there are three different network criteria. One is the performance of network, other is the reliability of network, and third is the security of network. So let me quickly go through these three network criteria. So a network must be able to meet some certain number of criteria, and the most important of these are the performance, reliability, and security. So performance can be measured in many ways, including the transit time or the response time. So what is the transit time? So transit time is basically the amount of time required for the message to travel from source to destination. Whereas the response time is the elapsed time between the inquiry and the response. That is request and response. So the performance of network, it depends on the number of factors. It depends on the number of users that are participated, what type of transmission medium is used, what is the capacity of connected hardware to process the data, and the efficiency of software. So the performance is often evaluated by two networking metrics, throughput and delay. So we often need more throughput and less delay. And we have already discussed in the last session what is throughput and delay. The next criteria is the reliability. In addition to accuracy of delivery as the fundamental characteristic of the data communication that we have seen in the beginning of this video, the network reliability is measured by the frequency of failure. So what do I mean by frequency of failure? It is nothing but the time your system or your network system takes to recover from the failure. For example, if the link is failure during the transmission of data, then how much time your network system takes to recover the link from the point of failure, and that is nothing but the reliability of your network, and network's robustness as well it is referred as. The third network criteria is the security. So network security, it issues the it contains the protecting the data from the unauthorized access, or protecting the data from the damage or the breachment. Okay, so you have to have some policies and procedures that recovers the data from the breaches and the loss. Okay, so as a part of this network criteria, what we have seen there are three important network criteria. One is what? Can anybody tell me what is the first criteria? Performance. The performance of network. Then the second criteria, what is the second criteria? Can anybody tell me? Yes, speak loudly. What is the second criteria of network?
Reliability.
Reliability. Very good. So that means you are still alive. Nobody is sleeping. And the third criteria is the security. Okay. So any network is, any network is identified, whether it's a good network or a bad network, based on these three criteria: whether it performs well, whether it has reliability, that is the how immediately the network recovers from the point of failure. Whenever your link fails, how fast your network recovers the link and retransmits the data, okay, so as to avoid any data loss and all. Okay, security is I have already explained. So how your network is secure to transmit the data from source to destination. So security is one of the important aspects in the data transmission. So let us go to the next topic, next subtopic, that is type of network connections. So before discussing the network, we first need to define some network attributes. Okay. So a network is two or more devices connected through the links, and that forms the network. We know that since the beginning we are discussing it. So link is a communication pathway that transfers the data from one device to another device. For the visualization purpose, it is simplest to imagine any link as line drawn between the 2 points. So there are two possible types of connections. One is point-to-point connection and other is multi-point connection. So first we'll see point-to-point connection. So a point-to-point connection, it provides the dedicated link between the devices, and you can easily observe in this figure, between this station, these two stations, they are connected using a dedicated link. A link is basically what? It is a communication pathway that transfers the data from source to destination. So the entire capacity of the link is reserved for the transmission between the source and destination in case of point-to-point. So most point-to-point connections, they are used the actual length of the wire or the cable. Okay. Now, when you how can we portray this point-to-point connection with some real-time example? So when you change the television channel by using your remote control, then basically you are establishing a point-to-point connection between the remote control and your television set. Then the next type of connection is the multi-point connection. So multi-point connection is the one in which more than two specific devices shares a single link. Okay, so here you can see that these three devices, they have shared the single link. So in a multi-point environment, the capacity of channel is shared either spatially or temporarily. So spatially, what do I mean by spatially? If several devices can use the link simultaneously, then it is a spatially shared connection. There are other type of sharing also. If users are sharing the channel based on some time criteria, then it is referred as the time shared connection. Okay, so I hope this point-to-point and multi-point connection is clear. Is there any doubt? If you have any doubt, type in the chat box. Is there any doubt? No? Shall we proceed? Okay. So everyone understood this. Okay, let's go to the next point. That is the network topologies, or it is also called as the physical network topology. So the term physical topology refers to the way in which the network is laid out physically, whereas two or more devices connect to the link, or two or more link forms a topology. So the topology of a network is we can define it as the geometric representation or the relationship between the links or the linking devices, okay, which are usually called as the nodes. So there are four basic topologies possible, that is mesh topology, star topology, burst topology, and the ring topology. Apart from this, there is a fifth topology is also there, which is also called as the hybrid network topology. We'll see in detail in the further slides. So these are the four basic network topologies. Remember, this is the most likely question asked in the interviews if you are facing the network related jobs, and this is most frequently asked question in the GATE exams also as a part of MCQ. Remember. So this is really important to learn this topic, because your entire networking, the further topics, they are this is basically the fundamental for all those further topics. Okay, so let us start with the first network topology, that is the mesh topology. Okay, so in mesh topology, every device has a dedicated point-to-point link to every other device. So the term dedicated means that the link carries the traffic only between the two devices that it connects. Now, how do we calculate that how many number of physical links that we require to connect some n number of nodes? So to calculate the links, we first consider that each node must be connected to every other node. So in this example, the node 1, this node must be connected to some n-1 node. n-1 node, what I mean? These 4 nodes. Let's say that there are 5 nodes in this figure. So if this node, how this node will connected to other nodes? So this node will be connected to this other 4 nodes via a dedicated line. That is important. Okay. Now, let us assume that each physical link allows the communication in both the direction, that is duplex mode. If the mode is duplex, then we know that we can divide the number of links by 2, right? So in other words, we can say that in mesh topology, we need how many links, how we can mathematically represent it, the number of links required. So if there are n nodes, okay, then this n node will be connected to n-1 node. This is what our assumption. And the second assumption is that we are considering that each node is transmitting in full duplex mode to every other node, right? That means if the transmission mode is the duplex mode, then we divide the link by 2. So that means the number of links, the number of wires that we need to connect the one node to the other node, okay, is represented with this formula, that is n into bracket n-1 divided by 2. So let us calculate it. So how many nodes are there? What is the value of n in this case? How many nodes are there in this mesh network? There are 5 nodes. So n into bracket n-1. So 5 minus 1, there will be 4 divided by, because we are using duplex mode, so we are saying that the data will be transmitted in both the direction. So we divide the link into 2 parts. One part of the bandwidth will be used for transmission, and other part of the bandwidth is used for the reception. Okay, so this is one way. There are 2 cases. You can use the separate links, separate cables for full duplex mode, or you can share the bandwidth. Okay, so I can use the 2 different cables for full duplex mode, or I will share this existing bandwidth of this black solid line. If the bandwidth of this line, let's say that this is link 1, if the bandwidth of this link is let's say that 100 megahertz, then I will divide this the capacity or the bandwidth of this link 1 into two parts, that is 50-50 each, equal size. So this 50 will be used for transmission purpose and this 50 will be used for receiving purpose. Okay, understand? Do you understand? Okay, so that's all from the mesh topology. So to accommodate the data or the standalone data or the full bandwidth, every device is connected to every other node using a dedicated link. Okay, so mesh offers several advantages over the network topologies, other network topologies. So first advantage of using the mesh topology is that the dedicated links, they guarantee that there won't be any traffic problems that will occur on the network. The second advantage is that a mesh topology is robust. For example, if one link becomes unusable, it does not hamper or it does not affect the entire network system. For example, you can say that if the link between this station and this station, if it fails, then this failure of the link does not affect the other links in the network. Then the third advantage is that the privacy or security. Mesh topology provides the privacy or the security to the data transmission. How? Because when every message travels along the dedicated line, only the intended recipient will see the data. The physical boundaries, it prevents the other user from gaining the access to the message. So finally, the point-to-point link makes the fault identification and fault isolation easy. Now there are some disadvantages of mesh topology as well, as the mesh are related to the amount of cabling and the number of input-output ports which are required are very huge. Why? Because every device must be connected to every other device, right? So installation and reconnections are very different, and we need the bulk of wiring that can be greater than the available space maybe. And finally, the hardware required to connect each link can prohibitively expensive, right? As the wires are increased because there are dedicated lines between the every nodes, so that means the infrastructure that we require, the hardware infrastructure that we require would also be expensive. So that's all from the mesh topology. One of the practical example of the mesh topology is the connection of telephone networks regional office, in which each regional office, it needs to be connected to every other regional office. So you might have heard about the telephone network. Okay, so there were telephone stations. Our telephone nodes, they are connected to the telephone office, which are generally called as a telephone stations. And there are such telephone stations which are interconnected with each other by using the wiring. So there should be a dedicated cables that connects this different regional office or telephone office or telephone stations. Then we'll quickly go to the last topology, that is the star topology, and then I will stop. I know that we are running behind the time, 2 minutes running behind the time. So in star topology, I'll just go to the next figure. So in star topology, each device has dedicated point-to-point link only to the central controller. So the central controller is usually called as a hub. The devices that are not directly linked to one another. So unlike mesh topology, the star topology does not allow the direct traffic between the devices. So how the data transmission will take place? So the data transmission will take place through the controller. If one device wants to send the data to another, it sends the data to the controller, which then relays the data, or which then retransmit the data to the other connected devices. So at star topology, or let me give an example. If this station wants to send the data to this station, then this station will transmit the data to the controller, which is typically called as hub in the star topology. And then this hub or this central controller will retransmit that data to this station. So the communication will take place through the intermediate device, which is called as the central controller or the hub. So a star topology is less expensive than the mesh topology. Why? Because in star topology, each device needs only one link and one input output port to connect it to any number of other devices. So this factor also makes it easy to install and reconfigure the entire network. As far as the infrastructure cost is concerned, because we need the less cabling to install the star network, so naturally it will gradually reduce the overall cost of network installation, right? So the other advantage of using the star network is it is also robust. If one link fails, only that link is affected. All other link remains active. So this factor also lends itself to easy fault identification and the fault isolation. As long as we can say that the other links are working, we can still have the communication. For example, let's say that this link fails. Even if this link fails, still the communication happens between the remaining 3 stations and the hub. Now we have seen the advantages of the star topology. Now what is the disadvantage of star topology? So one of the big disadvantage of star topology is the dependency of the whole network on the single point or one point, that is the hub. And imagine, friends, that if the hub device, if the central controller device itself goes down or itself it fails, then the whole system is dead. Your entire network will be crashed. Nobody, neither this station nor this station or this station, they will able to communicate with each other if our central controller, this hub, get failed. Okay, so the entire system, the entire network system will be dead. So although the star requires far less cable than the mesh, each node must be linked to a central hub. So for this reason, often we are not require more cabling like the mesh network, but still compared to other network topologies apart from mesh topology, the star topology still requires some cablings. So some we can say that some sort of infrastructure cost is involved when we are installing a star topology, star network, when we are implementing a star network. So that's all from my end. So 3 more topologies along with the different types of network, they are still remain. But due to time limit, I will stop here. And now we'll take your questions. If you have any questions, I will take your questions in 2 minutes. Otherwise, we will stop. Is there any problem? Anybody can unmute and please ask the question. See, your interaction is very, very important. As I mentioned in the first lecture itself. Is there any problem? I know you want to rush for your lunch, but believe me, just give me 2 minutes to solve your doubts. After that, the entire day is yours. Okay. So now, can I ask some questions in the chat box? You can answer the questions. So I'm typing questions, so you please check it carefully and answer the question. So I have posted the question, what are the fundamental characteristics of the data communication? So write your answer till the time I will post one more question. So we are actually taking a recap of what we have seen in this lecture. So the next question is released. You can see it in the chat box. So I am preparing the third question. The third question is released. What are the network criteria? And the fourth question. So give me the answer. Yes. First question's answer is right. So delivery, timeliness, accuracy, and jitter, these are the fundamental characteristics of the communication. And then I have asked the second question that what are the components of communication? Yes, one student has given the answer. So message, that is the information that you transfer, sender, receiver, transmission medium, and the protocol, these are the components of communication. Whereas the criteria of network are performance, reliability, and security. Whereas the types of network topologies, nobody has given the answer of this question. What are the types of topologies, network topologies? What are the basic types of network topology? Only star and mesh? Okay, very good. So Kunal has given the right answer. So there are 4 basic types of network topologies. So it is mesh topology, star topology, bus topology, and the ring topology. And I told you that apart from these 4 basic topologies, there is one more topology called as the hybrid network topology. So we'll see what is the hybrid network topology. So in the next lecture on Monday, we'll discuss the bus topology, ring topology, and the hybrid network topology. Along with that, we'll see the types of network. Okay, what is LAN, local area network, what is wide area network, what is heterogeneous area network, what is personal area network, metropolitan area network, so on and so forth. So that's all, friend. So thanks for keeping the patient because I took your 10 minutes extra. Thanks once again, and see you in the next live interaction. Thank you. And there is important announcement for 2 students, Prajakta Gangude and Prachi Gangude, and one more Prachi is there. You supposed to immediately call Birari sir. And there is a last announcement to all of you that the quiz 1.2 for the basic computer network is released on the Moodle course. So log into your Moodle account for the BCN course and start attempting the quiz 1.2. Thank you. See you and have a great day.